Welcome back to my Talk with Rose channel here on YouTube, where we sit and talk about a crime case that is either currently going on in the past. Some we just sit here and talk and chat live, where we can have a conversation and talk about things that we've seen and heard and just kind of get things sorted out and see if we can get things sorted out. So I guess this is going to be a three-parter. I guess I'm going to get to Lizzie Borden tomorrow. I'm going to do a 2-day in a row of YouTube. I'm going to do Lizzie Borden in the morning. Hey Brad, hey Gamer. Yay. Welcome in. So, yes, I will get to that Lizzie Borden tomorrow, Gamer. I got most of it put together. I think I got it all put together. I just like to brush up doubly before I do these videos, so. But we're going on a 3-parter right now. Maybe we'll start with the thing that'll entertain Brad. So, I guess Gypsy has been... He's like, I was first. You go, games. You guys tied in my book. So, Bradio, this is so fun and cool. A little bit of info just for you. Gypsy has been trying to handle her haters out there. And how she's been doing it is going on TikTok and lip syncing. And her song of choice, you want to take a lucky stab at her song of choice? We'll give you your crown in Fortnite later today, Brett, or Gamer. We'll give you a crown later. Josh has still got my crown. He saved it for me. Turned off her comments. Oh, they turned off the comments. We'll talk about the Nick video in a minute, too. They've been turning off comments lately. No, actually, it's... You got the singer right. But her song right now to her haters is mean. She's doing Taylor Swift. She's doing mean. Talking about how she's going to be living in that big old mansion up there while everybody's pouring, hating, and just mean. Shake It Off would have been cuter. No, it's fine, Joshy. I was just teasing because we were talking about crowns. So, yeah. Shake It Off would have been something cute. Shake It Off is kind of a cute way to shake off your haters. But, no, she went with mean. But the thing is the only reason why she's so rich is because she unalived her mom, because she's never worked a day in her life. She's only been in the real world for 3 months. She's been in the world for 3 months. And she's already putting herself above everybody else. And especially Nick. Because remember, she didn't do the actual unliving. But yes, she's out there singing mean to everybody. And let's not talk about that Nick video. That was very emotionally manipulative. I don't like the people that are running Nick's website. I think if that really is Nick and his dad behind it, I think they need to find a new team to run their social media. Because we're trying to talk about Nick not being manipulative and Gypsy being the manipulative one. But that video was very, very, very emotionally manipulative. I almost shut down the video twice because of the thickness of the emotional manipulation. It's like it's like at this point I don't care anything anymore what Nick has to say. I'm not gonna go through 3 minutes after 9 minutes the day before. 9.5 minutes of emotional manipulation, and then another 3 minutes before I can hear the message. That was horrible. So in my past video, hey Joshy, remember how we talked about it is kind of weird that she can just get straight out of that chair and walk so well, and that kind of shows that she was going along with the lies, because she must have not been in that chair unless she was like outside the home or somebody was visiting. Like, those are the only times she was in the chair. However, we need to hear more stories like this. Somebody came out and told their story. They had a mother who had Munchausen by proxy. So this shows that Dee Dee may not allegedly had Munchausen, because Christy, according to Fancy Maselli, Christy's the one who started saying that Dee Dee had Munchausen, and then a news person caught on to that and wrote it in an article, and so Christy's the one who started actually spreading that word and getting people to look at Gypsy's case that way, which makes me wonder, how much is Rod and Christy in on it then? Because there's a reason Gypsy doesn't want to live with them. How much Rod and Christy really do know. And, so anyways, this girl comes out with this story. Her mother made her take meds and we took her to the hospital and all of that. Just like Gypsy's story. And had her in a wheelchair, and her mom never let her out of the wheelchair, even at home, behind closed doors. Talked about. Well, yeah, according to Fancy, Christy might have started that and maybe even put that in Gypsy's head. Because she did meet with Rod and Gypsy right after she went to prison, right after she was captured. She met with Rod and Gypsy right away. And Christy had already started spreading the rumor of Munchausen. So this girl, she ended up not being able to walk. The meds, plus the wheelchair and everything, made her so weak that she ended up, what her mom was faking, some of it ended up actually becoming true because of how she was being treated. And then we started talking about how, if you look closer into the medicine cabinet, like 75% of that medicine cabinet is over the counter. There is some prescriptions in there, but they have Claudine's name on them. Either Dee Dee was getting the prescriptions for Dee Dee, or for Gypsy, and throwing them away, or maybe just hoarding them, but she was not giving them to Gypsy on a daily basis, because she had no withdrawals when she took off with Nick. She walked just fine. She had no come downs from any of these meds, and they got CCTV of her showing her walking and laughing and just completely being this normal person, which, coming down off epilepsy meds and all of that, there should have been some physical problems coming down off all that. And we need more stories to come out like this. I don't know who, I need to find out whose story this is. They just said this girl came out with this story, and her horrifying story of being in that exact position, but she didn't come out of it just fine like Gypsy did. So that means that Gypsy probably was, and according to the Facebook posts from Snow Gypsy Blanchard, which is the Facebook post that she shared with Dee Dee, for the last at least 4 years prior to the unaliving, Dee Dee was the one having all the surgeries, having the ambulance called on her, going to the hospital, having all the meds. Dee Dee was the sick one for at least 4 years prior to the unaliving. So, Gypsy wasn't, for the last 4 years of it, she was taking care of her mother. And I think that's one of the reasons why Dee Dee didn't want to let her go, was all the struggles Dee Dee was having. She didn't want to go through it alone. I mean, because you got to remember, like, she doesn't have a mother anymore because she allegedly took care of that and stuff like that. And her family hates her at this point. Gypsy's all she's got. You know, Rod didn't even stay with her. She never dated anybody else. She just took Gypsy in and was like, hey, this is who's going to stay with me for forever. Gypsy's never going to leave me. I think Dee Dee had abandonment issues, huge abandonment and control issues. And so she was never going to let Gypsy get married and leave her, because Gypsy's plan was to find a boyfriend and leave, not find a boyfriend and move in with her mom and take care of her mom. It was to get out of there. I wonder how things would have changed if Gypsy had decided, Mom, I need to get married. You know, I want a partner in life, but I will stay here and I will take care of you. You know? Maybe if they sold that house and moved so that Gypsy could start acting normal, because apparently, I need to watch Gypsy's interviews closer, but if you watch her interviews when she talks about going to these conventions and going out of town, there's hints and clues inside those interviews that people say that Gypsy, you could tell that she knew about the grift and she was a participant, and when she was out of town, she wasn't as wheelchair bound as she was when they were home also, because when they were out of town, they weren't going to run into anybody they knew. So, basically that kind of goes along with what I said in the first video. Two can keep a secret if one of them is dead. Because what Dee Dee would have to say if Gypsy had left, well, first of all, they'd be in a lot of trouble for the crimes. At least Dee Dee would. I don't know how much trouble Gypsy would be in, but Dee Dee would be. She's sick, she's not doing well, and also she's in a lot of trouble for all the fraud through the years. So basically, yeah, she couldn't just leave and let her mom live. Okay, let's see. And somebody was talking about how, I don't know if Gypsy's watched The Act or not, but I have deduced that from that girl's story that she told, yes, The Act would be very inaccurate, because The Act is about Gypsy if she lived with a mother who did have Munchausen, and she did have a feeding tube. Because what happened to that feeding tube? Because Gypsy didn't have it when she left with Nick. When did that get removed? Fancy hasn't talked about that yet. That's like a question for Fancy. And, oh my gosh, Fancy just has so much to say, and the family's trying to shut her down, because Fancy not only has all the Gypsy's medical records from Missouri, but from Louisiana. Apparently, not everything was lost in Hurricane Katrina. And this is the wildest part about it, is a doctor knew. A doctor knew. And this doctor had Dee Dee and Gypsy over for dinner. They were friends outside the doctor's office. She went online and saw it. Yeah. So basically, there may have been a doctor that was very complicit in all of this. He was friends with them outside of, and these doctors will not be interviewed. They will not speak up. They can't get these doctors to talk. I forgot the doctor's name. I should have wrote it down, because they did name the doctor, but I can't remember his name. So that was like mind-blowing to find out that they were friends with the doctor outside the doctor's office. I was like, mind blown, crazy. And so people are trying to shut down Fancy because I like to watch Toddy One Skip, who likes to talk a lot about, he's sticking up for Fancy right now because everybody is really coming down. And when Gypsy first got out of prison, I did see a post she wrote about Fancy, but I had seen the documentaries and I kind of knew who Fancy was, but the connections weren't making a connection in my head that Gypsy was trying to get her 8 million people to shut down Fancy, and that she was the same Fancy that was in all these documentaries. Because when they do a documentary about Gypsy, they call up Fancy and put her in the documentary. Bernardo, yeah, that sounds right. Flasterstein. Yeah, so apparently they were, I'm like, woo, apparently they were friends with him outside this doctor's office. Mind blown. Okay. It's like, so that's how because the doctor's records show that Dee Dee wasn't doctor hopping. She wasn't doctor shopping. But she found one that just friended them. And the thing about that I've noticed about Gypsy lately, I don't know if she's watched The Act or not, but she doesn't care about it because she doesn't want people to watch The Act or Mommy Dead and Dearest or anything like that. Well, kind of maybe Mommy Dead and Dearest because she's in it. If Gypsy's not in it and Gypsy's not sharing her story, she doesn't want you to listen to it. She wants everything bottlenecked through her. You need to come to her, and she wants to sue the people who made The Act because they used her name, her story, without her permission. And also, Christy is complaining that they were supposed to get paid. Well, I'm thinking maybe Gypsy got paid. Maybe she didn't share the money with Christy. Because why would Christy get paid for The Act? Gypsy would get paid, not Christy. Christy was not in The Act. I don't think her character was in The Act at all. She wouldn't get paid for The Act. She's in a lot of documentaries, but as for The Act, I mean, Rod's character's in there, but they were supposed to get paid, apparently. Maybe they paid Gypsy, like I said, but Gypsy was in prison. Maybe she kept the money. Maybe she didn't share it with Christy. So Christy's complaining about the money. Gypsy's complaining about, you told my story without me there. Became suspicious of Gypsy's. Well, and apparently there was medical records also, Joshy, because they did. They tested her also in Louisiana for muscular dystrophy, and the doctors did get a hold of those records that said she does not have muscular dystrophy. And so the doctor not only tested her, but they knew, because they did eventually get a hold of the records from Louisiana. Everything wasn't lost in Louisiana. So somehow those medical records were protected in Louisiana. Doctors did request them, and doctors did get them. And Dee Dee had done some doctor shopping down there because they didn't believe her and didn't believe the diagnosis. So yeah, after Hurricane Katrina, she tried to say they were lost. She tried to say you couldn't get them. She tried to get other doctors to just believe her, take her word on it. She had her binder and she had her story. But then again, Gypsy's acting just like Dee Dee. You gotta listen to my story. I have the story. Nobody else has the story but me. But that's what's in question right now, is how truthful is her story? We don't know. The problem is she's a very trained liar to lie without guilt. I mean, she was even laughing in the documentary when she said she lied to her lawyers. Your lawyers are the one people in this world that you don't need to lie to. They need to know the whole truth so that they can properly represent you. You don't lie to your lawyers. Yeah, which is why it happened in Springfield. But this is just crazy because but yeah, the act would actually be inaccurate if allegedly Dee Dee did not have Munchausen by proxy, because she may not have even given Gypsy those meds, because Gypsy has no. I watched her interrogation when they took her to the hospital and brought her back and said no, perfectly healthy, nothing wrong. Perfectly walking, perfectly healthy, perfectly nothing wrong. And that's how when the cop got there, he knew he was dealing with a really good liar, because as he was coming over on the plane, he was getting this information from the Waukesha County police that here's what we're dealing with. And she did put up some pretty good lies at first. She tried real hard. Give her props for that, because she did put on a really good act. She did put on a really good act for the cop. She did a really good job. Very believable, like, very, very believable. I would have believed it, except for the fact that the cop had met the neighbors first before they met Gypsy. And so he knew what the neighbors said, and then he knew what he saw when he got there. And he also had her most recent medical report, because she was taken to the doctors there in Wisconsin. She even tried to lie about her age to the cop. She told the cop, I'm 19, my wristband says 95, but I was really, or 91, but I was really born in 95. She tried to play it off that she didn't know that she was over 19. She knew. She knew, though. She knew her real age. So once again, you see her lying once again, carrying on the same lies she was with her mom. I mean, basically, the biggest things that Dee Dee's guilty of is changing Gypsy's age, trying to keep her there, shaving her head to carry on the lie. But she was not technically exactly medically. The feeding tube would be medical abuse, but I want to know when the feeding tube came out, because, like I said, she tried to run. So the night of the convention, the act gets it wrong. The night of the convention, when she meets Dan, she tried to run away from Dan that night. Her mom found out, she didn't come back to the hotel, went and chased her down once again, showed her birth certificate that she was 16 or something, or that she was young, that she was under 18, even though she was over 18. She was like 19 at the time. And Gypsy knew she was 19, but the mom was like, no, she's 15. And brought her back. And then she tried to run away again when Dan was in the hospital after that fight, which the act portrays that, which once again Gypsy or Dee Dee chased her down, showed a wrong birth certificate, brought her back. And so basically, yeah, she was trying to keep Gypsy there for a lifetime. And not letting Gypsy have a life. I don't know why in the interrogation video she told the story about supposedly she was betrothed to somebody in Louisiana? Something about shrimping boats or something? I don't know. It's all weird and crazy. I think that's all I kind of wanted to go over. But like I said, somewhere in the last 4 years, I think if there was a feeding tube, it got removed when Dee Dee got sick, and then Gypsy kind of had to start taking care of herself and her mother. And it's in the Facebook post where Dee Dee talks about, I have the best daughter in the world. I couldn't make it through this surgery or all this without her. And there's all these Facebook posts out there about how during the course of the last 4 years, it was Dee Dee the one that was sick for real. For real, for real. She was sick. And I think Dee Dee not only feared had those abandonment issues, not wanting to be abandoned by Gypsy, but with her health failing, and I bet she felt like she was close to death's door, you know? And like, that's probably why she told Gypsy the night of the unaliving, you know, I'm not dead yet. Because she was really sick, going downhill, going to the hospital a lot, ambulances were being called, and she probably felt really close to death's door, and she's losing her daughter. And so not only did she never mean to lose her daughter, but here she is, just, she's going downhill pretty fast. She's on all kinds of meds. She's going to the hospital a lot. For real, for real. It was not a grift, it was not a lie, it was for real stuff. And I think during those last 4 years, everybody's allegedly speculating about those last 4 years. Gypsy was not getting those meds. Gypsy was hardly in her wheelchair. Gypsy was doing whatever she wanted. Her mom was taking sleeping pills to sleep better at night. She was doing whatever she wanted all night long. I mean, obviously, because she was with Nick for over 2 years in the middle of the night. But who manipulated who? Because Nick's video does not make him look good right now. The video that they just put up 2 nights ago on March 1st, it makes it look like Nick can be manipulative too. Because that was pure straight emotional manipulation. I did not enjoy that video at all. Every moment, every word they spoke was just emotional manipulation. It was rude. It was just bad. And I don't care about the message at the end, because the way they manipulated you for the first 90% of the video, and they got to the message and then ended with a little bit of manipulation to top it off at the end, and whatever. Okay, whatever. If Nick's, I think Nick's dad needs to get it. Somebody said it was, what was that place called? Sector something? That may be running those videos, because I did watch their videos and it did sound a lot like it. So I think I figured out the team that's behind Nick's videos, and I mean, They were a little bit manipulative in the other videos too. They really don't like you going against anything they say. Like, it's just hard because you research out a crime and you can report on what you researched on, and hopefully you're right. Like I said, I was right on a few things about. I think Dee Dee's mom had to be unalive for the secrets they held. I don't think she was given those meds, and the how good she can walk tells you she was not in that chair 24/7 all the time. She was not bound all the time to that chair. Which tells you Gypsy knew how well she was. She knew she didn't have any of that, at least for the last 4 years. Definitely for the last 4 years. So who wants to get onto Twitch and play games now? I hope I brought some new good information. And to the case, everybody, just comment and let me know. I don't mind the good or the bad comments. I don't delete comments and I don't shut off comments because everybody's got to get out and say what they need to say. And so if you got to say something negative, just, like you said, don't be too terribly mean about it. But if you disagree, it's okay to disagree or whatever. Have a different story or have something else for me to research. I don't mind getting down and researching stuff. Because that's what this is all about. Researching crime and then reporting on it and reporting what you find. So, anyways. And I need to get these lives more straightened out so people can come on and chat while I'm live. But let's go ahead and skip on over to some Twitch and have some fun. Love you guys. Thanks for joining.